Commons, the former Prime Minister Sir John Major has said he would go to court to stop Parliament being suspended over Brexit. Sir John says proroguing of the House of Commons would drag the Queen into a constitutional crisis. A group of MPs, led by Dominic Grieve, have also been trying to pass measures which would make it more difficult for the new Prime Minister to force through a no deal by suspending Parliament. Well, how would these measures work? What is it that Sir John and others fear happening? Here to, I hope, shed some light on this, Maddy Thimont Jack, Senior Researcher at the Institute for Government, the think tank. And this word prorogue, suspending, is a more understandable word, but what is the process that they seem to be afraid of?
Yeah, so basically we talk about proroguing Parliament, and this happens at the end of any parliamentary session. So it's something that normally happens every year, where you suspend Parliament, you stop it from sitting, and then normally you recall it back within about a week or 2 weeks. You have a new state opening, a new Queen's speech, and you start the next session. And what MPs are concerned about is that if the new Prime Minister thinks that they're going to do all that they can to try and stop a no-deal Brexit, and the new Prime Minister wants to take the UK out of the EU without a deal, that what he'll do is suspend Parliament but not call them back as you would normally expect, and sort of sit back and wait until the Article 50 deadline runs out on the 31st of October and the UK then leaves the EU.
The last time this was done, my history is not great, but wasn't there a civil war?
Yeah, so this is not something that is normally happens at all. And yeah, the sort of time you're referring to was back in the 17th century, when Parliament didn't sit, from 1629 to 1640, and then yes, the Civil War broke out shortly afterwards. So this is definitely not at all a normal time, and I think a lot of people feel like it would be extremely undemocratic to suspend MPs from sitting to avoid them from expressing a view that's opposing to the Prime Minister, and that is something that is extremely concerning at this stage.
So looking at the ways of stopping this, Sir John Major clearly has a plan. Dominic Grieve has a plan. What are they involved? Do we know?
Well, Sir John Major says that if we did get to this point, so rather than stopping it from necessarily happening in the first place, he's threatening that he would then sort of take a case to the courts and say that actually it was illegal to do this. And there are some constitutional lawyers who would think that he probably has quite a good case for that. What Dominic Grieve is trying to do is to get to a position where actually Parliament is required to sit because of obligations that have been put on the government through law. So at the moment, what's happening in the House of Commons and the House of Lords is a piece of legislation which allows the civil servants in Northern Ireland to sort of carry out functions in the absence of a government there. Currently, the government is needing to pass a new piece of legislation to continue those powers until October, and what he was trying to do was pay certain obligations on the government in October, so that actually Parliament would need to be sitting.
There's one person whose view we don't know about this, whose view I would love to know about all this. That's the Queen. Now, what position, what role would she have if, as Sir John Major says, that we walk into some sort of constitutional crisis?
At the moment, it's really difficult to say, to be perfectly honest. I mean, the Queen takes the advice of the Prime Minister, and so the Prime Minister would recommend to her that Parliament should be prorogued. And at that stage, we really are into a lot of unknowns. I think the question might come up is, do you have the confidence of Parliament? And that could be an option, for example, for MPs looking to stop this, is actually to table a no confidence vote in the Prime Minister before they get to that point. But at the moment, that's just speculation, and we really don't know. But it is a risk that the Queen could get.
Maddy, sorry, we've been speculating on all this for about 3 years now. It goes on. Maddy, great to see you. Maddy Thimont Jack from the Institute for Government. Thank you.